What's going on, guys? I consider myself a jack of all trades, but my name's Jeff, so welcome back to Jeff of All Trades. Today we're going over the beautiful Kimber 1911 45. Anybody that's ever had a 1911 in their hand, or any pistol whatsoever, will know that this is one of the god of all god guns. Absolutely love this gun, and it's been a joy to use. This was actually donated to me by one of the viewers that are on this channel, and I was so excited and thankful to have this, to play with it, take it apart, shoot it, and really get a good feel for this gun. Absolutely enjoyed it. Today we're going to be going over how to take this gun apart, which is a lot more difficult than your normal pistol field stripping, put it back together, as well as cleaning and the oil points for this 1911. Let's get right into it. The Kimber 1911. Awesome weapon, difficult to get apart if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm going to show you how to do that today. First thing you want to do, press the magazine release. We're going to clear this weapon completely to make sure that there is nothing in it and we can work very safely with this weapon. Once everything is clear, we're ready to begin. First thing you want to do, like normal guns, there's a pull down, or you can half cock it, pull it down, pull the slide off. This one's a little bit more difficult. You're actually going to begin at the barrel of this gun. With some of the 1911s you buy, it can come with this tool, which is actually used to do it, but I'm going to show you how to do it with the tool and without, just in case you don't have it. If you're using the tool, you want to circle around this cutout here with this tool, press down, and that's actually going to depress the spring right here using this part of the tool. When you press it down, rotate the tool clockwise until you hear that click. That one didn't have much of a click, but it actually pushes off the tool when you get to that point. So when you get to this point, you can see that the spring has started to protrude a little bit and is actually resting on this rotating point that's hanging on the barrel. Once it's to that point, you want to stop. If you go too much farther, you rotate it all the way 90 degrees, that spring and this piece in here is going to fly out. Somebody could get injured or you could lose it. So you want to make sure you stop at this point. Once you're to this point, you want to hold this down with your thumb and rotate this piece a little bit more in the clockwise direction until it releases that spring there. Hold on to that as it comes out. It is under a lot of pressure, so that you want to be careful. Pull that piece off first and pull the spring right out. There you go. Now you want to get this piece off. Rotate it the opposite direction all the way around until you can't anymore. Simply apply pressure straight up with your fingers, and that will come off just like that. That also needs to be removed in order to get the rest of the gun apart. Once we're at this phase, we want to rotate the gun over. Once you get to this part where the barrel is turned over, you're actually going to want to remove the slide lock from the barrel, from the weapon itself. You want to pull the barrel back until it is lined up at this second notch here. You see your first slide lock notch, and then this one in the back. This one here is a marker of where you have to be at in order to remove this next piece. See how it's lined up? Once you're to this point, you're going to want to push on this button, which is also the slide lock. It's the same piece, but you're going to want to just apply a little bit of pressure, and then this will come completely out. Now when you're doing this, if you're not lined up completely, don't force it. It should come out with very little force. Simply apply a little bit of pressure with your index finger on this side and it should slide right out. You never want to force anything when taking a gun apart or putting it back together. At that point, your barrel, everything will be completely loose. All you want to do is slide that slide completely forward and off the weapon. Next thing you want to do is take these two pieces out. This one here, simply lift and slide out the back. And then the barrel itself, unlike other pistols that come out the back of the slide here, it's actually going to come out the front. So go ahead and pull this all the way through. Make sure everything's lined up here. And the barrel will come completely out. Now we're going to get straight into the cleaning of this weapon. The first thing I'm going to clean is actually going to be the lower portion of the pistol. I'm going to be using Hops number 9. This is a lubricant solvent in spray form. You can spray it on, let it sit for a little bit. It does have a oiling attribute to it, as well as a very good cleaning attribute for these very stuck on, stubborn, hard surfaces that are here. And we're just going to give it a good spray down. And just kind of let that soak. While that's soaking, let's go ahead and soak the slide, and then we'll get into the cleaning of that lower there. Same thing, you can see all this stuck on dirt here, all this stuck on grime and deposit from shooting, not being cleaned in a long time. You can see how dirty it is with just one wipe of a cloth. We're going to get all this off, make sure it's back to the way it's supposed to be. Go ahead and give this a spray as well. And just let it sit. It doesn't matter how much you use at this point, because we are going to end up scrubbing all this and wiping all this off. So right now this is just to get that dirt to break down, all that buildup to break down, and get it to where we can scrub it off nice and easy without doing any damage to the gun or any big back-breaking work to ourselves. Once that's sprayed and it's been sitting for a while, you can use one of two brushes. You can use your metal brush, which I have here, that I'm going to be using today because this has a lot of built-up gunk on it. Or if you want a less abrasive brush, you can just use a plastic brush, nylon brush for this as well. This metal brush is not going to hurt anything on the gun. That's what it was built for. As you can see, the bristles are bent away. It's a much softer metal than the metal that is used in firearms, so you're not going to have to worry about any scratching or anything like that. So we're going to go right in with this and pretty much scrub everything that's in here. You want to scrub along these rails here, top portion here. I'm going to scrub a little bit in this magazine well, just because I did see some buildup. The rest of the rails here, and then of course where all this metal is sitting in this section of the pistol, I'm going to scrub out as well. Once you got that nice and scrubbed down, I'm just going to take a microfiber cloth and wipe absolutely everything off. If you can't get into some of these nook and crannies, you can use one of the smaller cotton rags, but this will do just fine for me. We are going to be applying oil to this, but I always like to wipe everything off very liberally. You don't want anything to be on there and stuck on that's not supposed to be on there, including oil. Alright, so now this is all cleaned up. You can see the difference already with how clean the bare metal that we have on here looks. Fantastic. Already a huge change. You're going to notice that when you're handling this weapon. That's why it's so important to keep your guns clean. This one was not. Needed a little bit of loving, but it's going to turn out like brand new, better than brand new when I'm done with it. That's it for the lower there. Since this has been soaking for a little bit, let's hop right into this one. I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to take this abrasive brush here. I'm going to scrub into here, both sides of these rails, you can actually see, yeah, right there, you can see all the speckling that's in there. That's all your burnt gunpowder, that's all the dirt and everything that's in there on both sides, nice and deep in there. You're going to feel that when you're racking this weapon, and you're going to notice the difference once it's actually cleaned. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this one off. And once again, you can just see the difference on this. See how there's no more speckling on this. It's all completely cleaned. No more dirt or grime in there. Very dry, which will change, but very clean of all debris. And that's what we want to see. Nice shiny metal. We're good to go with this. From here on out, it's pretty simple. Grab a piece, give it a quick spray. With these parts here, the barrel, this for your spring, the spring itself, I'm just going to use this little nylon brush here. It'll do just the job. And when I tell you this thing came out looking brand new, look at that difference. Incredible. What just a little bit of work can do can bring back your gun to a whole new level. Now we have to focus on the inside of this barrel here. It's actually pretty clean, but I'm still going to go through it just to get a thorough clean of this weapon. Now what I'm going to use for this is going to be simply one of these brushes from your cleaning kit, a pull handle with a pivoting handle, as well as one of these cotton brushes to clean off all the dirt and the debris on the inside of it. You can use a bore snake, which I like to use in all of my videos, but for this one, because it's a 45, because I know a lot of people don't have the bore snake, I'm going to go ahead and use it this way. So what I'm going to do is take this, give it a good spray. And you always want to pull from the direction of where the bullet is going, which means in this case, bullet's going to come through here, out the muzzle. That's the same way that you want to clean and put these brushes in. So go ahead and put your pull in first. Add the brush. And go ahead and pull through. It'll be a tight fit. It's supposed to be. Take it off. You never want to go back and forth through this process with the brushes. You always want to pull the direction of the bullet, no matter what gun you're cleaning, no matter what caliber, it's all going to be the same. One more time for good measure. All right, now that that's done, we'll put this aside. We're going to grab our sponge here. This attachment will go onto here, which makes the smaller threads to go onto the handle so we can pull it through. We're going to do the same thing. Put our handle through, screw this on, pull it through clean. Oh, you see a little bit of that dirt on there, but it's actually not too bad. There we go. Take a look. Like everything else, it's looking brand new. Look at that. It's exactly what you want to see. And the comparison of just what a little bit of cleaning can do. This one here that hasn't been cleaned yet, and this part here looks like a completely different part. Alright, this is fairly simple. Spray it. Scrub it if it's dirty. Make sure you get deep into these crevices here and the outside here. Give it a quick wipe down. Just like that. All I'm really going to do with this is take this rag that I've been using and just give it a wipe down there, make sure it's cleaned off. There's no real reason to do a deep clean on this, but if you want, it's not going to hurt. Give it a little bit of spray. You give it a scrub and wipe everything off. Not going to change much, but it's always good to clean everything, I suppose. This here is that lock that goes over your barrel. Give that a quick nice and clean. I'm not going to worry about this spring at all. Not really dirty, can't really mess with anything. And then this portion here that goes on top of the spring, not going to worry about that too much either. Now that we're all cleaned up, we're going to go over the oil points real quick on this weapon. I'm going to be using Hops No. 9 lubricating oil. My biggest rule of thumb when oiling a weapon is anywhere you see a wear mark, put a dot of oil. That means all your rails, this section here where the barrel sits and where the round gets chambered, these rails back here, you can see the discoloration, you can see the wear points on the rail here. That's what we're going to be focusing on. When I use oil, less is always more. If you're racking this weapon, you see oil pouring out the sides and pouring down the frame, and you think that that's a good oil, you need to rethink it and do it again. Less is more with this weapon. Less is more with any weapon. I'm going to take one dot. That's it. This little dot here, that'll be enough for this entire rail. I'm just going to take my finger go ahead and rub it in on this top part here too. And just like that, you can see the difference. You can see how it's glistening. You can see how the metal is soaked in that oil. That's all you need on there. You do not need a plethora of oil. You can do the same thing right here in the middle. One dot. Go ahead and wipe that around. Since there's a lot of it extra, I'm going to rub it on the top of these rails here as well. A little bit goes a long way. You can see how much oil is there. You can actually see the little bit of a swirling effect, almost like wet paint on these here. This is one of the main reasons I'm going to wipe this down. Perfect example, if I had a pointer. A perfect example of this is right here. You see how this is pooling up? You can see how there's a little extra residue here that you can move around. To me, that's too much. I'm going to wipe that off, and it's going to be plenty to keep this gun lubricated and doing what it's supposed to do. But if you got pools like that, if you got little whirly marks, you want to make sure you wipe this down. It's just too much oil. I'm going to do one more dot on this side here. Wipe it in. And then using the access, I'm just going to get this portion here. Make sure that there's nothing that's going to be metal on metal. You can lubricate the magazine well in here. I normally do not. Now I'm just going to take this cloth here and wipe down all that oil we just put on. It may seem controversial to put oil on and then wipe it right off, but I'm going to show you why it's not. Having a gun that's clean is important. Having one that is well oiled is important. Having one that is over oiled is ignorant. Now, with all of that wiped off, mind you, all this is overspray from when we were cleaning the gun. But if you look at these rails, you can still see how the light goes across them, how shiny they still are. That is plenty of oil. You do not need it to be beaded up on there. You do not need it to be soaking wet. That is plenty, and you can see the difference already with just that oil, wiping it off. That'll be plenty for the next time this gun is cleaned. Moving on to the slide, we're going to do the same thing. A little bit of oil on this top rail here, as well as on the other side. And then a little bit here. Like I said, where you can see wear marks, it's where you want to oil. In this section here in the center, you can see all those wear marks and notches. You want to make sure that's oiled. And then down in here in the barrel, you want to make sure where the barrel goes, you want to make sure all that's well oiled as well. So I'm just going to take one drip, put it in the center. I'm actually going to use the rag for this one because I want some of it to be on the rag so I can redistribute it throughout the weapon. I'm going to go ahead and put it right down in there now. You want to add one more, you can, but make sure you get it all out. Now for the rail section, I'm going to put a dot of oil in the rails. I'm going to use one of these cloths that came with any ordinary cleaning kit and fold it up and make sure it gets really deep in those rails there. And make sure we have good contact with everything. That's all that's needed for the slide. See a little bit of residue in there? I'm actually going to wipe that out. I don't like that extra residue in there. To each their own. Everybody has their own way of oiling. You got a different way? Leave it in the comments below. Let me know what I'm doing wrong. Let me know what you think you're doing right. I'd love to hear. Alright. Next part going right in order is going to be this barrel. The barrel is very important. You can see wear marks all over it. It's a very neglected part in the cleaning and oiling process. Just take one dot, put it right on the barrel. Just take your finger Rub it on the barrel, rub it on the top here, wherever you see any wear marks. Wipe it off. That'll be plenty for the barrel to make sure that it's as frictionless as possible when going. This is where your spring, your recoil spring, slides back and forth on. I think it's important to add the same thing we did with the barrel. 1 dot of oil. Then wipe it off. Very simple, and I think you can see a pattern by now. I'm not going to worry about these parts here. This is a lock. This sits right on top of the spring, and the spring itself is going to be taken care of with this piece here with the lubrication, so I'm not going to worry about those pieces as they don't have much movement. And now the fun part, the reassembly of the Kimber 1911. We're going to reassemble it the same way we took it apart. First thing you're going to want to do is grab the slide and the barrel. Remember, the barrel goes in the front part. Slide that all the way back. If you look at this piece here, it has a notch right there. You want that notch to be sitting on the barrel, so slide it in, and that notch should sit right in place there. It'll slide around, that's not a problem. Next thing we want to do is verify that this swing for the barrel is in the far back position. Take the slide, line up these back slots here with the rails on the lower. Slide it all together, not forcing anything. And remember, we want to line up this notch here with that square. So go ahead and keep pushing it back. There won't be any resistance because you don't have that spring in yet. But you want that to be lined up at this hole, because this is where you're going to be putting your lock back in at. Go ahead and slide that right into that hole. And snap it into place. There is a punch that comes through here. It's like a little BB that's held with a spring that's in there that holds tension on this. So when you're pushing it in, you are going to have to snap it into place. But also, if you can notice, if that's not lined up at this hole here, it's not going to go exactly where it's supposed to go. Make sure that's lined up. This is still going to move around, that's fine, but that's where you want that to be at. Good way to check, make sure it's flush with the gun, and make sure it's extruding on this side. Go ahead and push the gun forward, the slide forward. Flip it around. Put your barrel lock back in place. Now this has a notch right here that you can see. Wants to line up. When you're putting it on, make sure it's to the right of the gun. Again, don't force anything. That lock there is going to go right in here. Put it in there, swing it all the way around so we can have access to this to put the spring back in. And the spring cannot go in either direction. The spring has a flat end right there. You can see how it's kind of closed off here. And then it has an opened end on this side. You want to make sure this flat side goes in first. Go ahead and slide that down. Make sure the flared end is pointing up on this cap piece. And go ahead and compress it in. When you compress it in, using your fingers, use your other hand and lock that lock into place. That'll hold everything down. Then you can use your tool again, flatten everything down, twist it in, line it up with this notch, press down, and rotate it around until it's locked back in place. Now, if you don't have this tool, you can just use your fingers to depress this. I've used the cleaning brushes to depress on this side just to get that lock out to where it's supposed to be if you don't have the tool. It is not a be-all end-all for it. Once that's locked into place, everything is back. Go ahead and rack the weapon. Realize how smooth it is. Appreciate that you did a fantastic job. And you are all set. And there you have it. How to take apart, put back together, oil points, and of course a deep cleaning of this Kimber 1911. Absolute joy to use this gun. Thank you again to one of my followers for lending me this gun and trusting it in me. I promise you it's coming back in better condition than you gave it to me. Did you like what I did today? Have you ever taken apart a 1911? Let me know in those comments down below. Let me know what I may have done wrong. Let me know if you do any oil points differently, or if you really like the way that I did it. Remember to like this video, definitely subscribe, and as always, stay safe. I'll see you in the next one.